that. Brady's never had a problem with that, or Belichick's never had a problem with that. But, that's what it looks like with Philly, too. And you've seen some of the teams in the past kind of do the same thing, where they win the Super Bowl and the next year kind of flat and can't really figure out what's going on. Not as hungry anymore, I guess.
Yeah.
So, that's it. Dallas is going to back in. They're going to win. They're going to go 9-7. They're going to win the East, and your boy Garrett is going to keep his job. Yeah. Good.
Hey, they just got to keep feeding the ball to Zeke.
Well, they do that.
Ton of yards, and now they got Amari Cooper. I'm telling you. They'll be in the playoffs.
That's a dynamic offense.
I didn't say that. I mean, like the week before, when they were playing the Titans, they were inside the red zone. On second down, they were inside the 10. On second down, they threw the pass to Amari Cooper, his first touchdown as a Cowboy. I told my wife, I said, they always throw it on second down when they're inside the 10. Sure enough, next drive, they come down, second down, they throw it, Dak throws a pick. I'm like, if I know that, just watching the games as a fan, I mean, you think those other coaches
you're not even watching tape on
these
guys.
I've probably watched 4 games this year, if that. And I'm like, they always throw it on second down inside the 10. So, I don't understand. Just give the ball to Zeke. You're paying the O-line. You're paying Zeke. Just freaking give him the ball, man.
Well, I'll say, Coach, I think you hit on the head. If they just feed Zeke, I think they're good. I mean, the thing is, you'll have to keep the defense a little honest. That way, they're not just sitting there loading the box.
Yeah.
But I think he potentially could be the best running back in the league. But it's like Dallas just kind of keep. I don't know, Garrett. Because who's your offensive coordinator's
Linehan. Scott Linehan.
Maybe you should fire him.
I think they need to get rid of them all. I'll say let's get Lincoln Riley, baby. Let's go up to Oklahoma and let's get Lincoln Riley to come.
You know what? Actually,
come a little 3 or 4 hours south.
You know what? You get Lincoln Riley. Your Cowboys win like 10 games. That dude is he's like McVay.
I just don't think he would leave Oklahoma to go to Dallas.
Oklahoma's a pretty sweet job.
Yeah.
Even though you're in the Big 12 and they won't let you in the playoffs because I don't know, but
yeah.
Big 12's not as respected or whatever. So,
all right. Any other NFL you guys want to hit on before we move on?
Know what? Let's talk about not NFL. Let's talk about college basketball.
Yeah, college hoops. That's what I was gonna say. Let's hit on that a little bit.
Is anybody going to beat Duke? You watched Duke this year?
Duke is unbelievable. I watched them play Kentucky.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of people said, a lot of people tweeted out they could beat the Cavs. And, that night they were hitting a ton of shots. I kind of came back to reality when they played Army. Of course, that's where Coach K graduated from, so I think they took it a little bit easier on them. But against Kentucky, they looked dominant. And, I think they look like the best team in the country, hands down, against Kentucky. Now, KU's legit. KU's so good, and Self's a great coach.
Yep.
He does a great job with those guys. And, the thing about those guys is the big fella in the middle, Dokes, he's just a beast. And I don't think people really realize that. You got that guy in the middle, 6'11", 7 foot, just a huge, massive guy. If you ever seen KU practice, it's just unbelievable how hard those guys go at it. So it'll be interesting. But I would say, I just saw a score at halftime. I think Michigan's beating Villanova 44-17. I think I just saw that. You might want to check that out. I think that's going on right now.
Yeah.
I think it's 44-17 and a half.
That's crazy. You said Michigan Villanova?
Yeah.
Michigan's beating them 65-37.
There you go.
Ooh.
So 44-17 and a half. That was the national championship game last year.
Yeah.
Things changed a lot in college ball just in a year, right? Because you have all those guys moving on and things changed. Duke's winning their game. Well, they're playing Eastern Michigan. They're beating them 73-31.
Yeah. What's your opinion on the one and done rule, or that they got to be 19?
Yeah, I think it's so tough, because every sport's treated just so differently. If you go and you're a baseball player and you go to college, you got to stay 3 years before you can get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
So some high school kids are torn. They're like, well, I don't want to go to college for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go and they get drafted maybe in a later round. And so then they're in A ball or maybe lower A ball. And they're, that's a hard life. That's a hard road. I think usually with the NBA guys, the one thing is a lot of them they're like they're going to be pros, or if they're not going to be pros, they're going to be in the D League, but they're not going to be in the D League for long, and they're going to be kind of taken care of. But I'm an old school guy. I mean, I loved it when Bird and Magic were playing, and that was great for college basketball, and that was when college basketball players hung around for at least 3 years, if not 4, and college basketball was phenomenal back in the day, and now you never see very many guys that stick it out 3-4 years, but you talk about those teams like that had Patrick Ewing on them, of Georgetown, and those guys were all there for 4 years, and Keem Olajuwon at Houston. That was, it's just, I think it was a lot better game back then, and there's a lot more loyalty. You look at all the kids that transfer nowadays. Now it's like, I'm getting out of here. I'm not getting what I want. I'm moving to a different school, and it's just, there's not that many guys that really, fell in love with their school and stayed there and are loyal. And you see those guys that played in the pros, but Irvin Johnson's still wearing a Michigan State, type of thing. Like there's not, and I will say that about Kansas. I think Kansas has done a great job. Like they've made that a special place to play. I think the big schools do that. Carolina does a good job of that. Duke does a good job of that. Like getting those guys to come back. You're once a Jayhawk, you're always a Jayhawk, that type of thing. I think those guys have done a great job with that, and that's really important. So
a lot of times it feels like business or money starts becoming the motivation behind everything. Because on one side, you can see how even the one and done rule is even a business motivation for college, because they want to have Zion on prime time, right? When Zion is probably good enough playing in the NBA right now, but instead, he plays one and he's really at Duke. He probably really wants to play for Coach K, but it's more of a business move probably. Goes plays for Coach K, learns a lot of good things, and then gets put in the league, stuff like that. I mean, really, one of the schools that embodies that whole mentality for business is Kentucky, and which they got whooped by Duke. But pretty much Calipari, I think Calipari's even been quoted as saying getting his boys to the league is more important than winning championships. I think he said that. I don't want to.
I think in that 30 for 30 he talked about having that mentality.
Yeah, how he really wants to. He wants to have all the kids come in, and that's his thing. Is, hey, I'll get you to the league, which he's not lying. He'll get you to the league. He's put a lot of players in the league, but it's just, I think you're right. I think we got to figure out a way to make it feel like how it used to. I don't know if it ever will be, but I don't know. But yeah, the one and done is a tricky thing. So
yeah, definitely. I don't know. I see both sides of it. You want the kid to go to college, but I mean, while they're there, are they really getting any kind of education for that year? And I know that their grades are staying where they need to be, but is it really because that kid is putting in the work, or is there a tutor somewhere doing all that work for that kid?
Different sport, but Shannon Sharp the other day said, "I majored in eligibility." He just did what he had to do to stay on the football field.
I mean, obviously, football's a totally different animal there.
Yeah,
I mean, there's not very many 18-year-old kids I've ever seen that could go play in the NFL away. They would just get killed from a strength standpoint, from a size standpoint. You need that time for your body to develop. But and the NBA, and I get it. I mean, those kids want to go get that big paycheck right now, and in college there's all those rules, about how much they can have and what they can get. And I mean, I know that schools are finding ways around that, and those kids are still being taken care of. But
yeah, and then one thing about eligibility is you talk about a kid that maybe he's taking a couple hours. He took 3 to 6 hours in the summer, kind of get him going, and he worked out all summer with the team. And then maybe he's taking 12 hours or so in that fall semester. But in a spring semester, if he knows he's getting drafted, he might be enrolled in 12 hours, but he might be attending 0 of those hours. Because he's like, I'm out of here. Why do I need this? I'm going to the league. So he might not be attending class ever. I mean, it's hard to say. Again, you hope that all the colleges are doing the right things and their tutors are making them go to school and staying on top of that. But, You know, if I was an 18-year-old kid and I was as good as Zion, I don't know if I'd be attending class.
Yeah, I mean, because he's barring injury, he's a total lock to get in the NBA. He's going to be the first pick. Yeah. Totally. One other thing is, speaking of like taking classes, I saw something about the LSU quarterback. I think he's a 5-year guy, and he's taking 2 online classes and then just focusing on football. I think he's trying to go to the league, actually. And he actually looks the part where he has the size and he has the arm. I don't know really how good he is, but he's only taking online classes, so his total focus is on football. It's more business stuff. I mean, everything starts turning into a business.
If there's a little bit of a loophole in that eligibility, man, those guys do.
Oh, they'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it might not be the head coach working it, but he's got somebody on staff saying, "Hey, we got to figure out a way to keep this kid." You know, I mean, even at the high school level, there's some kids that you have to pay a little more attention to their schoolwork than you do others.
Yeah.
And, you have to ask them every day, hey, did you turn that assignment in? Hey, did you talk to this teacher? You just got to pay a little bit more attention to them. Obviously on a much smaller scale. But there's those guys, Coach Hair, we got to take care of.
You got to take care of your guys. That's a big thing.
All right. So, Coach, thanks again for joining us. And we'll get you out of here on this. What is one piece of advice you would give a young coach trying to get going?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me on the show. It's been great to be on here with both of you guys. A piece of advice I would give, I think a lot of young guys get out of college and maybe they get done playing and they're like, how can I be, a head coach and how can I get the best job right away? Like, I think it's okay to be a grinder, to be a worker, to be an assistant, and, hey, you got to break down this film and you got to break down this tape and you got to learn how, because I think a lot of people will tell you, you get into head coaching and it's a hard job. There's so many people that you're dealing with. You don't get just to coach all the time. You've got to deal with administration. You got to deal with parents. You got to deal, obviously, with your players and your schedule and ordering buses. And there's so many other things to it. And a lot of times kids just come out of college, they're ready to go, and they think I can be a head coach right away. I think if they'll just get behind, somebody that's done it for a while, I think that they can kind of show them the ropes. I think that's a great way to go. And like we all talk about all the time, I think we all got to be servant leaders for each other.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's a great piece of advice. And, anybody thinking about getting into coaching or wanting to get into coaching out there, definitely take that, into account, and a guy who's been doing it a long time. So, again, I'm Gary.
This is Austin.
And we'll see you guys next week.